And again, we're talking about sex education. How early should it start? At what age? And is it good for you? On the line, Guy from Cape Town. Go ahead, Guy.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. What's your question?
Kodwa Mikakulu. I love you, but you're very ugly with the children, especially the boys. Since 1994, 1,700 Pakwetas has been murdered in initiation camps. You worry about the girls, but you don't worry about the boys. If you teach the boys to respect girls and to know about the consequences of sex, you must teach him. Many children makes you bankrupt.
Okay,
That's
fine. Thank you very much for that. Okay. He did raise a point about education when it comes to boys. Not sure what the initiative was behind that, but what is the lesson there? What should they be told? Because that goes beyond sex, doesn't it?
We are all agreed that there has to be sex information and education that is given to children. What we are disputing is the content of what is given to children. Now, I'm going to quote. Now, this information I have comes from, I Googled this, and I'm going to read from what comprehensive sexuality education, as the UN promotes it, says. And obviously, a question that I would like Troy to answer is whether South Africa has made a commitment to teach as CSE, as the United Nations has proposed it. I would want to know that, because if South Africa has made a commitment, then I cannot see how they'll move away from what I'm going to read. That is why I want to encourage the public out there, particularly the parents, to read for themselves, to search for themselves, and not just to listen to what officials are saying here, but to search themselves.
Okay.
What is CSE about? Okay. For
okay,
example,
but so can I just say, I mean, it should be up to parents to Google and search and to get involved in a whole lot of paperwork. I mean, surely it's better if you have teachers who can teach you. You've got sex educators who come in. And I just want to bring this award-winning journalist's comments in, Louise Ferreira. She investigated sex education in South African schools last year, and this is what she found.
My article looked quite broadly at the current state of sex education, at what could be wrong and what might be done to fix that. And what I found was that, interestingly, the syllabus is actually good. It's substantial. It covers most of the topics that should be covered. But the big problem comes with implementation, that quite often teachers are not sufficiently trained to teach sex education, because not every teacher can do that. It can be a difficult topic to teach teenagers, especially.
That's not good, is it?
Not at all. I think that she makes some valid points. You know, we live in a very conservative society in South Africa. I mean, the fact that we have these taboos about talking about sex with our children is an indication of that. So sometimes it is difficult for an older teacher to perhaps engage in some of these concepts with young people. But this is where we are going on with the introduction of these new policies, both the HIV and TB prevention policy, as well as the prevention and management of learner pregnancy in schools policy. We're looking at training teachers especially to tackle this comprehensive sexual education, and this is part of what we're doing. You know, Jane, if I can, we don't, as the education department, want to have to take that role from parents, from your civil societies, from your church organizations, for example. We would much rather focus on other aspects of the curriculum. As you know, education is such a broad, we have many challenges. We really need to get down into the curriculum. But the fact of the matter is that parents aren't talking to their children about sex. Your church organizations, your civil society organizations aren't
clearly
talking.
Something's going wrong, because children are falling pregnant.
Exactly.
Younger and
this
younger.
is
I mean,
why
what
it's
about
so important.
external stimulation, in the sense of getting kids out more, off computers possibly? I mean, what else do they need to be given to encourage them to not get involved in sexual relationships at young age?
Parents have to be encouraged to be involved with the teaching of sex education for their children. it is their responsibility.
But it's not just down to the parents, is it? I mean, there must be, I mean, it happens a lot when children are bored, possibly impoverished.
Now, when children are bored, obviously they make use of what they have. And if they are not given proper material, maybe, for example, many of them, they come across adult pornography, okay? They're not, they see that. And obviously, children like to experiment. Now, Dr. Alfred Kinsey, on whose theories CSE was based, is saying that children are born, all of us, we are born sexual, and that he encouraged that children must experiment, that information must be given to children, including anal and oral sex. Children as young as 10, I mean, parents out there, if they know that there is a possibility of 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds to be taught about oral sex or anal sex, I mean, that is not good for their age. So we are saying, what are you giving to the children? We want to see the content. That's why I'm saying parents must not just sit back. They must know what their children are being taught.
Let's see what, or hear what Lucky has to say from Kempton Park. Go ahead, Lucky.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Lucky.
Yes, I just want to say, you know, parents and teachers. Hello, how are you?
Go ahead, Lucky, we can hear you.
Yes, I can say teachers and parents are the one who's supposed to be set the ground to say no sex before marriage. That's the first thing. Because if you have loose hands with teachers and parents, no one can control the children. And children, they are given too much freedom to do whatever they want. They act like the owner of the house. While parents and teachers are sitting back looking what children they want.
Okay, thank you, Lucky. Okay, I think that's a good point. I mean, how do you get the balance? I mean, I'm sure nobody wants to know that their kids or let their kids have sex when they are young, when they are underage or, you know, still at school, obviously. But how do you get the balance of educating them so that they know enough but are possibly not encouraged? It's the way it's taught, surely.
Yeah. I think on our side as Department of Health, as I said, that we've got different messages for different age group. That is actually not teaching the children that they must have sex, but what is important, that they must understand their bodies, and then they must understand that if somebody touches them, it's a no-no. And then that is why I was emphasizing the point that it must not, the government departments are the one who's supposed to take a leading role, because most of the time children are there at school, but as well they belong to the community, they belong to the family, and then it's high time that all of us we join hands together, because I believe that parents, they don't want, no parents want their children to have sex at early age. As well as Department of Education, Department of Health, we don't want to see children having sex at early age.
How big is the cultural factor here when addressing this issue?
Well, cultures promote abstinence. And there was a time when government was talking about ABC strategy. All right? Yeah. But now you don't hear much about abstinence. And again, when you look at comprehensive sexuality education, as it's promoted by the UN, they don't talk about abstinence. They want children to experiment. And that is what we are disputing. If government would just do what she says, we would agree with that. We say children must be spared and protected from information about sex, details about sex that 4-year-olds don't need. Now, when you read, if
you're better informed, you know how to hold yourself, you know how to have a conversation, you know what is acceptable and what's not acceptable.
No. Oral sex is unacceptable for children. You cannot tell me that children must be taught about anal sex and oral sex and expect them not to do that.
How deep do these conversations go? Let's
Jane,
find out.
I think we need to clear the air here and clear a few facts, because I think the Reverend is a bit misinformed. I think when it comes to what we're promoting in our schools, it is prevention and abstinence first and foremost. We don't encourage experimentation at all, but we need to deal with facts, and the facts and the realities is that learners are experimenting, and it's natural for young people to experiment, and that's why we emphasize age-appropriate education, but it needs to be clear that our focus is primarily on prevention of learner pregnancy, prevention of HIV and STI transmissions, and this is really the key. We do not believe that, and the facts speak for themselves, the research speaks for itself, is that comprehensive sexual education does not encourage experimentation and does not encourage young people to have sex.
I can give you this.
Okay.
She must Google that and show that they are talking about abstinence.
I will just add, as the Department of Health, to say we believe as well in abstinence. We are saying to our kids they must abstain, but then if they are failing to abstain because we want to raise a responsible adult, we are saying we can use other methods to prevent a pregnancy, because we believe that they must continue. We need to keep our kids at school.
What about handing condoms? That seems, handing out condoms. Do you support that?
We promote dual protection for those kids who are sexually active. But then we are not saying kids, they must fall pregnant, they must have sex. We are saying children, they must abstain. But if they've started, because we know that once they've started, they are going to fall pregnant. So if they've started to have sex, we are saying there's a ways of preventing a pregnancy, because we want to keep them.
Okay, you'll have to leave it there. Tembi Zulu, Kenneth Meshwa and Toy Martins, thank you very much. Coming up, a new president is set to be inaugurated in Zimbabwe in just a few days, but politics in the country remains in shambles after spending part of the week behind bars. An opposition leader will soon be released. More on that up next.